So, Rachel, this is so fun to meet you for the first time on Skype. And today we're going to talk about copyright. And the big basic question I have is, what is copyright and why is it important for an ebook author to think about? Because as a non-lawyer myself, I kind of think, oh, I just don't really want to deal with that. And maybe if I just have the words down on the page, even if it's a digital page, aren't they my words? And I mean, that's about as far as I go with it.
Yes.
So where should an ebook author start in terms of thinking about copyright and why it's important?
Yes. Well, so copyright is a way for you to register your, creative written work with the U.S. government, essentially. And there are benefits to doing that. It is true that when you write a book, you do have copyright protection in that book, essentially the moment that you write it, right? But what is that worth? Does that really protect it in the world, just the fact that you wrote it? That's not really going to prevent people who want to infringe on your work and use it for some other means and try to make money off of your words without paying you for it. It's not going to deter them. So the whole point of copyright protection is to deter, would-be infringers. And it happens more often than you think. So, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we were talking earlier a little bit more about how, this is not just an ebook. I mean, think of it as a product. And when you launch a new product, what do you do and what safeguards you put around that? So talk about an ebook kind of in that context.
Yes. So an ebook is, you should treat it like a new product in your business. So, if you were going to create, let's say, a new piece of technology or, another information product like a class or something like that, a digital downloadable product, how would you treat it so that no one else steals it, so that no one else takes the name, takes the concept of it and becomes a competitor or gets it to market before you can? So that's the way that you want to think about it. You want to treat it like an asset of your business that is going to make you money, and so therefore you want to protect it. And to be honest, protecting it is so easy. It's ridiculous not to do it. It's not expensive. It's not hard. It's just that, people don't understand it, and so they just sort of reject the whole idea of it and say, well, I'm just going to, take my risks and see what happens. But you'd be surprised. It does happen. And when it happens, when I talk to business owners and entrepreneurs who've had their intellectual property stolen, especially stolen by someone who's bigger and more well-funded than they are, it's
Right.
scary and it's heartbreaking because you put so much work into it.
So tell us, sort of simplifying for our non-legal brains here, tell us the steps. I mean, for example, you have your book title and you have the content of your book. So what should an ebook author do?
Okay, so when you're writing your book, put a copyright notice on the manuscript, even if it's in progress. Just make sure, on the first page or even on every page in the footer, put a copyright notice on it. And
It's just like literally the little symbol.
Yes, the little C symbol with the date that you are sort of working on it. And you can put, usually what you put if it's unpublished yet is unpublished, let's say 2012, and then your name or the name of your business, whoever is going to sort of own the copyright.
Okay.
So that's the copyright notice that you put on there. And the purpose for that is that if the manuscript somehow falls into the wrong hands, maybe you have it on email and your email gets hacked, or you have it somewhere online and someone gets access to it, they can't claim that they didn't know it was, a copywritten work. So it's a way to show that it's protected and that you are claiming the copyright to it. So it prevents people from stealing it and then saying, hey, I didn't know, there was no copyright notice.
What about the title? I think like a lot of people, I often say to a new author, "Oh, that's a great title. Go register the URL." Sort of thinking somehow in the back of my mind, well, that kind of claims the title. But tell me that I'm wrong. That's not right, is it?
No, it's not right. I mean, that's one way to protect it, is to, get the domain name for it. But that's only just step one. A lot of authors will create a whole brand around their book. A lot of times when you're writing an ebook or even a print book, it's sort of, your core work. You know what I mean? It's like your big thing that is
Absolutely.
a big part of your brand. And so a lot of times people will create a whole brand around it and then maybe create a workshop related to it, or even sell, t-shirts or posters or other things that are somehow related to the book and the brand that the book is creating. And so one of the things you can do to protect that brand, if it's the same as the title of the book, is to trademark it. So you need to trademark it, which is different than copyright. Trademark is for names, slogans, it's essentially a way to protect a brand. You can also trademark logos. And so that's one way to protect the title, because you can't protect the title in copyright. Just the title alone is not going to be protected in copyright. It's going to be the whole creative work that's protected in copyright. Is that clear?
It is clear, and now you've raised another flag for me. I always thought getting something trademarked was this big, long, expensive process. So how, in other words, if the title of your book is, maybe a new service you're offering or whatever, it sounds like you should think about trademarking it. How does an author do that without, breaking the bank? They don't have a huge budget for legal fees.
Yeah. Well, trademarking is not that expensive, especially relative to the amount of protection that you get with it and the way that you can create a revenue stream from your intellectual property. So if you, for example, I can't reveal the name of her book, but a friend of mine is writing a book, and she's got a great title, and she wants to create a whole brand around this book. Now, if someone else finds out about that book and decides to create a competing business with the name of it and trademarks it before she does, she's going to be limited in the way that she can actually use the name of that book. So that's why it's so important. The other thing is, with creating a brand around it, you can, if you create courses and other things like that, you can always license that material to other businesses who want to use your work to maybe teach their audience. And there's so many different contexts in which you can license your intellectual property. So there's a great quote, I can't remember who said it, but they said that intellectual property is the oil of the 21st century. And that is so correct. It's like, panning for gold or striking oil. That's what intellectual property is for our generation. So when you are creating creative works, it is so important to protect it because you're making money from it. So, and trademarking, actually, the fees with the USPTO's office are around $300. And, what you pay an attorney is probably around $1,000, $1,500. So it's not super cheap, but the investment, you'll see returns on it, definitely.
So how would you, so you should just find a lawyer, could be any, really, and as long as I know about trademark law, and just say, could you please file for, is that the right phrase,
right.
File for trademark for me for this title or this tagline or...
Yes. And so that's one of the things, too. If you're planning to create a brand around your book, then you want to research the title. And first of all, make sure that your title isn't infringing on someone else's trademark. And then, so the first step is to do some trademark research and to have, either you can start it yourself by just doing Google searches. You can also use the test search system on the USPTO's website, so you can search all the current registered trademarks and see if anyone is using anything similar to the title that you want to use. And if there isn't, then, that gives you some comfort. You do want to go a little bit further than that, and that's what we do. In my office, obviously, we go really deep with the trademark research to make sure that you have a name that's actually, first of all, trademarkable so that you can actually protect it, and that's not infringing on someone else's trademark. And then you go through the process of actually registering the trademark. If you have the help of an attorney, it's super simple, and it's pretty straightforward. If you try to do it yourself, there are people who do it themselves, and I have seen people do it themselves successfully. The problem is that most of them don't. So most of them eventually abandon the application because they can't get past the next steps. The initial application looks pretty straightforward, so people will file it not realizing that they're really sort of screwing it up or messing up certain things. So trademark is not something I recommend you do without an attorney.
No, I would agree, and I advise my beta authors and the other, up-and-coming authors that Voxy Media works with, if there's certain things, just don't, that's not your core competency. Don't do them yourself. Don't do your ebook formatting. Don't design your cover.
Exactly.
Because it's so important. So let's go back to copyright. There's thinking about copyright during the writing of the book, and then talk about this. The next step is after you publish your book or while you're publishing it. How do you do this? How do you get copyright other than putting the C symbol?
Right.
What
So
do
so
you have to
what so what you're going to do is there is a copyright application on the U.S. Copyright Office's website, and so you can go there and actually fill out the application, provide them a copy of your work, and register your copyright that way. I think the application fee is like $60. Um, you
Hmm.
know, I think it's something that more than trademark is something you could probably do yourself and do it successfully. Some people run into issues or just they're like terrified by the idea, and so they want the help of an attorney. That is going to be a lot less expensive than registering a trademark. So the copyright process probably, if it cost you $500, that would be a lot. It'd probably be less than that, even working with an attorney, because it's a fairly straightforward process. But the thing is, there are some little things that you should probably know about it. It can get complicated. So I think you can take a look at it. If you do the research and sort of take the time to really learn the process, then you can do it on your own. If you just don't want to deal with it, hire an attorney and just outsource it. And the other thing too, I just wanted to mention too that if you're going to have artwork as part of your book, the title or worked into the text, in the formatting and everything, then then you should copyright the formatted transcript, because then that protects all the artwork as well. But you've got to make sure that you actually own the artwork.
Oh, whoa!
Yes.
All right.
So when you're working, so when you're working with a designer, if you hire a designer to, let's say, do the title or do some of the formatting and add some artwork to the actual text of the book, you're going to, in that agreement with them, you should make it clear, and you should have a written agreement that you own all the intellectual property that results from that engagement.
I think this is going to be the first of several conversations that we need to have about ebooks and legal concerns, because my head is swimming already. But this is so helpful, and we will provide all the links of things you've mentioned. Will be under the video, so you can look there. Let's see. Anything else? Maybe a final closing thought is sort of this introduction to copyright and ebooks.
Well, I guess I would just close on the same way that we sort of started and say that, your ebook is valuable. You never know how it's going to do. It might sell like hotcakes, so if it is very successful, anything that's creating revenue is also creating risk. And so you want to protect it before you even get it to market, to make sure that no one is stealing your words and not, paying you for it. So see it as a project that if you're going to put in the many, many hours that it takes to write a book, then it's worth it to protect it. And it costs a couple $100s to copyright it. It's insane not to copyright your hard work that you've put on a page. So definitely copyright the work, and also explore the possibility of trademarking it. These are all ways that you're investing in the work, because you want to see a greater return from it. So when you invest in, the legal aspects of protecting your work, you'll see a better return.
And this, again, is part of the challenge, if you will, or what's cool about self-publishing, and that you can pull together all these pieces yourself. Because I have a feeling that if you have a New York publisher publishing your book, they take care of the copyright piece. And I had never, when I published a book that way, I had never thought about that. But again, this is very possible to do, just like it's possible to hire your own cover designer, your own book designer, your ebook formatter, and something that we need to add to the equation, because it just makes so much sense.
Exactly. You're becoming your own publisher, so you've got to protect, the same way that these big publishing houses, trust me, they don't put anything in print without copywriting it first. So that is something that you definitely want to do. Just these are best practices, And then also, one last thing to add, make sure that you read the terms on Amazon if you're going to publish it on Amazon, or if you're going to use some other self-publishing company. Make sure that you read the terms that you have with them, because you want to make sure that you always own the copyright to your work. You don't want anyone else to have certain types of rights to your intellectual property without paying you. If anyone wants to use your work in any way and you want to allow that, that's fine, but they need to pay you for it.
I like it. I love it. I think to be continued. Rachel, thank you so much. That was fantastic.
Thank you.